Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as some of you might see, I've been called Andreas, but my name is Martin. The reason is that Andreas, our CEO, had to head back to Austria because of a family issue. He sends warm regards and also apologies. But yeah, he's unhappy that he couldn't make it, so I will take over his talk. And my name, how does that work? There we go. You sure the clicker works? Oh yeah, just a little bit thing. Yeah, my name is Martin. I'm co-founder and CFO of the Semantic web company. And I will tell you a little bit more about also one future trend after Kendall's amazing talk about his future trends of tomorrow. I will tell you something about future trends that is all about ESG. And I will take you in a minute what it is all about and what ESG means. I'm just fighting a little bit with this clicker thing because it doesn't react. Okay, well, this is nicely destroyed. Semantic web company, no matter. We are the vendor of PoolParty Semantic Suite. So this is also a booth outside you might have seen before. I get a new one? Okay. Oh, all right, thank you. I'll get this one? Okay, thanks a lot. PoolParty Semantic Suite is a semantic AI platform. It's W3C compliant, a little bit. It's ISO certified, a little bit hard to read, but I just tell you. We are on version 9.0 and it's on-premise and cloud-based at the moment, serving 100 customers, also a few like Kendall did or said before, over the river on the other side, so doing business there. But what we are working on and what is our vision is bring knowledge and help organizations to become sustainable organizations. And thereby we go to the next one. So you see a little bit for whom we work. So you see a lot of organizations here from the US, but also from Japan, like Takeda or the European Central Bank, where we have knowledge graph projects inside. And some of our customers, and they're coming in here now, play a crucial role in the transition to sustainability. There are examples like, for example, the Rockefeller Foundation, also just on the other side of the river here. But the IFC in Washington, that's the International Finance Corporation, that's a subsidiary of the World Bank, working on sustainability projects and climate projects and ESG projects, or also the Green Climate Fund that is located in South Korea. At the moment, I would say the biggest fund or the fund with the most projects running in climate change and climate mitigation in that area. At the beginning, who is aware what ESG and SDG means? Any idea? Okay, thank you very much. So at least 3 people in the room, so let's go a little bit deeper. ESG, the E is for environmental. So it stands here and it's here mapped to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. On the other hand side, that has been developed by the United Nations, also across everything is across the Hudson, it seems at the moment. So also on the other side of the river. So environment, it's all about water, it's about climate change, it's about life below water and life on land and so on and so forth. This is what the E stands for. The S in ESG stands for social. This is about zero hunger, no poverty, if you map it to SDGs. So it's all about good health, good life. Health is an interesting topic. And the G stands for corporate governance, mapped, for example, to reduced inequality or responsible consumption and production. So things that are getting more and more important. And this whole ESG movement is a very complicated matter, as you can see already from here. Lots of people just look on the E. Everything about environment is taking us into account these days. Lots of people look into the G, like governance and risks, and also diversity and inclusion, for example, social. But this is all for organizations, ESG. So if you map it then to the 70 Sustainable Development Goals, you see the mapping between ESG and SDG, and that becomes or is a first step in the problem. But nevertheless, on an individual level, what is somebody facing with when he works here with ESG? It's complex. There are just so many questions. There are bunches of documents. There are growing amounts of document. So what we need are intelligent assistants, and we need something like a digital workplace that helps us in an organization, in a day-to-day work, also to get through this topic. On an organizational level, the thing is relatively similar, but what comes on top is you have a very dynamic in this domain. So everything here is developing quickly. For example, in Europe, we have directives coming up or regulations that by 2024, 50,000 organizations in Europe have to comply ESG reporting and have to bring this really to the place. So we have something like the digital product passport, where supply chains and the product passport, the products you need to learn where the energy comes from, you need to put on top where you have all the supply chains, the material that goes into your product, where it comes from and where it's going to. A lot of stakeholders and controlled vocabularies, knowledge graphs. Knowledge can help you to implement an ESG strategy, what we think is a part of a sustainable organization that helps you to be compliant on the one hand, but it also helps you to get the best talents, because young people, you may have found out, they're very much interested in diversity and inclusion. They're very much interested in the planet. So are we. So in climate change. So ESG is a topic to get the best talents. And furthermore, as a sidekick, it also helps you to get, by the way, a better valuation of your company. And it also helps you with ESG reporting to get cheaper money, by the way. So a lot of organizations are happy to be compliant, but as soon as they see that money gets cheaper when they are ESG compliant, then they also start ESG programs in this direction. Here you see a little bit numbers from Gartner to see how complex that topic is. So if you have a look on the right-hand side, comprehensive ESG reporting, but things that we are doing already at the moment, like code of conduct, privacy policy, and so on and so forth. Lots of reporting, and it's all spread into different departments across the company, and it's all caught mainly in documents, but also in unstructured and structured data and semi-structured data. So when you have a look what we have at the moment in an enterprise stack, you see that we have, for example, greenhouse gas emission management in manufacturing. We have environmental, social, and governance software. We have GRC, the governance and risk compliance, where the risk managers are working. But all these things together at the moment don't work properly. So you have to integrate these things into Knowledge Hub and recommender systems. And what a surprise, I don't have to tell you the basics of that. Knowledge graphs can help in this respect. So our approach, to go here a little bit into the details of technology and a methodology, is that we build from search over insights to recommender engines. So you see the pyramid, we go it up from the bottom up to the topic when we use PoolParty Semantic Suite. So we start with search and with content hubs in the middle with semantic models. We enrich these semantic models and we build knowledge graphs out of it. So you can do document intelligence and you can build knowledge hubs that helps your organization to find the right information also for the next best action, things like this. And going on top and putting personalization into the model and into the system, you go into augmented intelligence and recommender systems. Giving you a few examples about these three areas and three steps. So the first one here is semantic search over ESG content. And for sure, you can exchange ESG with every other topic or every other knowledge graph. This is an implementation of PoolParty into SharePoint. You might be aware that SharePoint in search is not really the best job that you can find. So there is search, but it doesn't work properly, to say it bluntly. With the integration of a knowledge graph or with PoolParty, then you can find that you have semantic search in place. So you can search across silos, you have enrichment of semantics, you have faceted search and so on. It helps you to have autocomplete, as you can see in the middle. It helps you to have these facets on the left-hand side that automatically come out of a knowledge graph. And it also can help you to have knowledge boxes or information boxes. So if you take one document out of it, and you go into details, or you go into details of your classes and concepts that you find, then you can learn about these concepts also in more detail. If you're interested in, just go to that link and you see how you can make your SharePoint better in this respect. Example 2, we're going into insights, so from search into insights. This is an example of ESG risk management. I mentioned it before. It's the EFC, the International Finance Corporation. They have built a system that is called Malina. And Malina combines two things. On the one hand side, it takes machine learning approaches to just classify information. And after a while of working on that, the finding was that the precision and accuracy is just simply not high enough. So what they did, they have modeled a risk or ESG risk knowledge graph in the back, combined it with machine learning, and for example, increased by that the accuracy from 70 to 90%. And now there are really hundreds of thousands of documents and informations and also projects in the field that are managed by the system of Malina, and about 83 risk classes, ESG risk classes are going over. So second thing, coming from search, you're going to insights, you get more information, you can look into the information and documents and into the data. And before coming to the third example, just a few things and questions that come up when you think about ESG. Think you're in the middle of your organization and ESG is a topic that comes up. Tons of questions are there about the products or even also about investors. What are my competitors doing in this area? And what technologies are they using, for example? How are they rated in this field? How I can get better rated in ESG? So you see which standards are relevant for us. How can we stay compliant? Which topics are most relevant for our people so that they stay at the company and that they're happy and motivated, until what new technologies will transform, for example, in the area of supply chain, our supply chains. Lots of questions, and I just take more of them and more of them. And this is what a person sitting in the middle of that system then is asking herself or himself all the time. The answer is that you can say all these complex questions can be answered by a knowledge hub. Already here also ESG Knowledge Hub. This is then where the insights are combined with the recommendations. This is an example of the ESG Knowledge Hub that is built on top of PoolParty Semantic Suite. And here you see already you have faceted search on the left-hand side coming from the graph. You have the search in the middle. You can combine it with data and with some charts that help you to find the next important thing, or combine it to ESG, SDGs. And if you go for the recommender and you just fetch one of these documents, then you get information around this object, about this knowledge object that is a document. You get information about the ESGs. You say, these are the industries this document is relevant in. You see the information about other documents. So about the one knowledge object that you have selected, you get a very rich recommendation set, and all of that is based on the knowledge graph. Another example about an organization that you pick, you get similar organizations, or you get organizations that are also working in the field that you should have a look on, and so on and so forth. This graph has a little bit of a backbone, what it is and how it has been built is a classical knowledge graph. So on the left-hand side, you see the basic knowledge model or the ontology. I don't want to explain it in detail, but on the right-hand side, you see what is in at the moment. This is end of April. It's taxonomy elements, it's ontology elements. There are a lot of data sets, directive and regulations mapped into this graph. So at the total, we have around 4,500 concepts and definitions modeled inside, semi-automatically, 25,000 terms, 14,000 relations, and then there are mappings into external sources like Wikidata, like DBpedia, and also mapping to other sources like LinkedIn, where we fetch in information. That means the basic graph, the graph is enriched more and more, and that allows you then really to have this knowledge hub and to have the recommender system that gives you insights into, in our case, the topic of ESG. This is how it looks in PoolParty Semantic Suite, the basic model. You see it's relatively rich, modeled, semi-automatically done. So the environmental hazard has alternative labels. I don't read them, but you see it. It has accept matches into third parties, and this makes a very rich graph out of it. And then fourth example in this direction is also, let's say, recommender system, and it was mentioned before. No matter today, you have to say something about large language models. So this is our little robot. It's our mascot. His name is Pepe, and from PoolParty. And what Pepe does is he meets ChatGPT. So in principle, when you push questions, and I guess you have done that before into ChatGPT, then you see the answers they look nice, but more or less very often they're very blurry, or even they're inaccurate, or they're just wrong. So mentioned also before, what we have done is we enrich ChatGPT with our knowledge graph in the back, and this is online. You have the link seen before. Play around with it, or just come upstairs and I'll show it to you how it works. So on the left-hand side, when you take a question like, how could open data and knowledge graphs help to prevent critical climate tipping points? Then the left-hand side is the direct answer that you get back from ChatGPT. There is an answer. if you read into the topic or try it out with your topic, just don't ask, what is climate change? That's a little bit too short. You should give a little bit of a longer question that it works, that you get really something out of it. And you see it's blurry, it's a very vague answer. What we have done, we just take the question and we enrich it by the graph. And then on the right-hand side, we push it again into ChatGPT. And what a surprise if you give a better question and if you give a more enriched question that has a graph behind, then you get a more accurate answer. You even get then links into the graph that gives you definition, the explanation of the topics that the result shows you. And what you see here, because it didn't fit on one screen, what we also find in this system is then you find links to relevant links to third-party sources and information. In that case, then it would be sustainable development goals and articles. And this is something that you can build into also your knowledge graph. So the overall idea or the message here is a large language model is nice. You can make use of it. But if you make a knowledge graph or use a knowledge graph and you ingest or you enrich questions and you enrich thereby the request into the large language model, then the answers are getting much more accurate and much more richer than they have been before. By the way, it works also the other way around, but that could be a discussion. So you can use ChatGPT also to enrich your knowledge graph. It's simple. It doesn't work badly. Good. So getting that together, what we have in this system of the ESG knowledge graph, or we call it knowledge graph as a service, you have this base layer, that is the ESG knowledge core knowledge model, that is also available publicly. You can just have a look at it, then you see what is inside. So the domain model, building on top the knowledge graph, enriching this domain model and this model by more and more mappings, also to other APIs with other sources, you build a very huge network of information around ESG. And on top of this, you can build applications that I've shown you and explained you, like our little paper on the left-hand side, like the ESG Knowledge Hub that you can have inside of your organization, like the SharePoint integration of PoolParty that just helps you to have better search over documents, or your application that serves your use case. And this is the basic approach. And as said before, you can take the topic of ESG out and plug another topic in. But we are totally convinced about this future trend of ESG and sustainable organizations, that they help us to grow and that they help to build interesting and powerful organizations that also sustain over a long time. What happens with that knowledge graph, that you get a little bit of information. We are still modeling and working into this direction. So for example, we are modeling feedback loops in the next step. What is a feedback loop? Just to let you know, if you have a look of temperature in the middle and then you see permafrost. So the temperature that is increasing, for example, permafrost is thawing. I guess you have heard about this. So it's all, the ice is going away and CO2 is coming out of the ground. And what happens is a feedback loop, as it's called in climate change, climate research. And temperature again is increasing and stuff like this. So the next thing will be in the model, we'll put in these feedback loops, also cause effects and so on and so forth. And we are very much interested to work together. At the moment, we look for partners that are interested to go into this direction, to also partner with us to improve the ESG knowledge graph in that respect, but also bring this to companies. By the way, also to do it a little bit like Handle before, we also have spoken to Gartner. Gartner is very much interested in this topic. We clearly see that ESG is a topic that organizations have to take care about, not only to be compliant, but really to make more sustainable organizations. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. No idea how to get back here. Thank you. I'm totally happy to answer questions. If you have deep dive questions, I will bring you in touch with a colleague that was planned to make this presentation for sure.
Sure. Thank you for your presentation. I have a quick questions on the PIP, you call it the chatbot, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So when you say you combine the ChatGPT with your knowledge graph, ESG knowledge graph, can you elaborate exactly what you have done? Did you just design smarter prompt engineering to incorporate, digest your knowledge graph, or you actually fine-tune the large language model with your knowledge graph?
I think it's more the second. So we fine-tune more or less the question into the large language model. So we are not, let's say, powerful enough to really influence OpenAI or ChatGPT. We take the questions, we pipe it through NLP, we analyze the question, and then we take a look into the graph. We find concepts, we find related concepts, and all things that are around. So we build something like a semantic footprint around the question, and then we ingest again. And by this, ChatGPT understands the question much better. It's richer, it's more precise, it sees what you really want to know, and thereby you get a better answer and more precise answer. The links that you have seen, this is something that we enrich because these links come from the knowledge graph afterwards.
Okay.
So the definitions, for example.
But when you do the enrichment, you rely on the response, the initial response from ChatGPT.
When we take the enriched question and push it in, then we rely on the ChatGPT, if I get your question.
No. When you say...
The question is my question, right? I take the question, I send the question into the graph enriched the question, and then this enriched question is put into the large language model.
Okay, and then you get response from knowledge model, and then you...
First from the knowledge model, and then you get it from ChatGPT, and this is combined.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have to pay
for the enrichment. At the moment, this is open. This is an example where you can say, okay, this is how it looks. This is what you can do with a knowledge graph in ChatGPT. When you bring this into your organization because you're interested to set something up like this, you have to pay for the software. We're a software vendor. Yes, you have to register and then you have to pay. Yeah. Nevertheless, OpenAI is not the only system around. There are very great language models that are in place that you can use. In Europe, there's an open ChatGPT initiative going on, by the way, in all 24 European languages by DFKI. That's a research center. And they're really building at the moment language models in these 24 languages. That will be free, by the way, because it's powered by the European Commission. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.